Guys, my name is Ben Steed. All my information is in your Agora back office somewhere. I know Vince will be able to point to that in a little bit and be able to, there it is, actually right there. If you're watching along on the screen, that is my cell phone number, and that is my personal email. I answer to all those, carrier pigeons, smoke signals, whatever you can get my way. I want to give you a little bit of background on how we got to this point, and I want to give you some exciting stories and some successes. I want to manage expectations. I want to answer questions. I want to show you how to do this and even why this is all in place. First things first, it's a little bit confusing. Yes, the name of our company is just the digit 5. It's actually a great conversation starter. If you've read anything about tribal leadership or management styles, or even if you're a radio operator, level 5 is the pinnacle of achievement. It means you're no longer competing against yourself. You're not competing against people in the marketplace. You're competing against what's possible, and that is what we do here at 5. We're out here to change this business. We believe that customers deserve better. They absolutely do. Our mission statement is 2 words: just help people. And we do that because we've got some amazing people on our team. I hope we get a chance. Vince, remind me to come back to that if we have time in the end. I feel like the depth and breadth of knowledge and the aptitude and even our attitude and being able to help people is unparalleled. And I think that's what makes this a great partnership. Again, we're super excited about it. And I know it's only a matter of time before many of you get to see that for yourself and experience some success. Find a lot of comfort in knowing that this program is not brand new. In fact, this program has been in existence, not in its current form, but in a way for the last 6 years. I, like you, or maybe not like you, but I was a part of a network marketing company. It was an energy-related company, and I guess this is going back 7 years ago. And I kept running across commercial clients that needed help, wanted help. These were people that I knew. They knew me. They trusted me. And I didn't have a good outlet for them. And so I looked around, and I found 5 back in its very early formative stages. And one of the things that drew me to 5 that I think will also draw you to 5 is that, number one, they really did care about my relationships. I was very hesitant to bring a relationship to a company that I didn't feel like would take care of that would leave it in a better place than it was found, and it wouldn't negatively impact those relationships. I'm a firm believer that your net worth is directly proportional to your network. And I wanted to make sure, first and foremost, that was okay, and then 2, that they could actually help the client, and that they put the client's best interest first. And I experienced that very early on. It came to fruition where I kept referring more and more clients to 5, just as you are going to be asked to do here in a minute. And I just got a taste of the greatness that it was. I developed this program back about in its current form about 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. I started very small, and it worked. Moved it up a little bit, scaled it, and here we are today where we are full-blown, full speed ahead. We are a finely tuned, well-oiled machine. And what it does, guys, and here's kind of the premise of this whole deal. Getting in and talking to the clients that we want to speak with as an energy management services firm, that can take some time, right? You start off with somebody that you don't have any rapport, no trust, no reputation, no relationship. That might take 5 months. It might take 5 years to build that relationship to the strength that's required to allow us to go in and do our work. But what I realized early on is it only took me 5 minutes. And I was quickly leapfrogging people that have been doing this for 10, 15 years because I had such strong relationships. They trusted me. I trusted 5. All I said was, listen, folks, I can't explain a lot of things about what they do or how they do it. I just know that they do an incredible job. It's worth a 10 or 15-minute phone call to see if they can help you out. When can I set that up for you? And they'd ask me all these questions. Well, it's a great question. I don't want to mess that up for you. Make sure you write that down, and when you get on the phone with them, make sure you ask about it. What ended up happening, Vince, along the way was that people started having these phone calls, and they would call me afterwards and say, man, it's exciting. It sounds like they can do some great work for me. And the best part of it is that they're going to prove all this value up front with no obligation or cost. I said, yeah, it seems to me that if the proof is in the pudding, so to say, then there's really no downside for you, right? If they're going to serve up the pudding for free and you do find value, you do engage with them, that's fantastic. They helped you out. If they don't, for some reason, whatever reason, at least you may have learned something, right? There's really no downside to this. And that kept happening over and over and over again. And got very excited. Like I said, we developed this program, and here we are today. So, Vince, any questions or comments on that? Did I leave anything out as far as the history and how we got here?
No, you're doing good. Let's go through. And when we talk about here on the first page, I know we have the different states we're involved in and also the different services. Yeah,
I think a pretty good, first let's kind of develop, who FIVE is. We are, the best way to look at us is like we are an in-house energy management team that's just not in-house. You've probably heard people outsourcing, human resources or marketing or things like that. Well, this would be a similar type scenario with energy management. And it's a common misnomer that, energy management is a lot like how you might buy electricity for your home. If you're in a deregulated space, which we'll talk about where that is in a second, you have choices in where your electricity comes from. There's competition. The price you pay per kilowatt hour can be different. The type of product that you have, and is it a fixed product? Is it an index product? Is it some hybrid of in between? And then what term length do you go with? And when do you do all that? Right? I mean, that's what most people think about energy management. There's actually a whole lot more to it. In fact, the more you spend on electricity, the more ways there are for you to manage that cost. And we look at it not necessarily from a savings perspective, but from risk management. And risk management should always involve having the least impact to your bottom line in an increasing market or the greatest impact to your bottom line in a decreasing market. And so we help folks do that. We look at everything. We're going to look at when to buy, what to buy, how to buy electricity, how to manage the tariffs that are coming from the transmission and delivery companies or a utility company, as you may know of it. How to look at sustainability and renewable initiatives. You've probably heard sustainability is a big deal right now. Demand response programs. How can you monetize the assets that you have through either distributed generation or rooftop space for solar, or you've got some acreage out behind your college, like Holton College does, where you can build a solar array. And everything else, budgeting and benchmarking and art flash studies and everything else that comes into play in this, we help people do that. So, just kind of put yourself in the shoes of a mayor of a city or a city attorney or a superintendent of a school district, or maybe you run a fast food chain, and your job is growth and bottom line and profitability and managing expenses, but you have no idea how to handle all of those things in the energy management world. Imagine that's you, right? And so your job is, number one, keep the lights on. Number two, make sure that cost is as less as it can be. And number three, go ahead and still do everything else that you were hired for. So it only makes sense for someone like us to come in and help someone like that manage that process. And guys, we've got clients, all kinds of Fortune 500 clients like Liberty Mutual, State Farm, Duracell, Xerox, Swans, the NBA, on and on and on and on and on. Institutionals like Columbia University, NYU, Case, St. John's, Houghton College, Monmouth College, a bunch here in Texas that you probably have never heard of. Quick serve restaurant chains like Raising Cane's, the chicken fingers, if you have those in your area. We have a lot of Piatas and Dairy Queens and Dunkin' Donuts and every Chuy's and every Uncle Julio's Mexican food places, a lot of car dealerships, tons and tons and tons of commercial real estate. If you're familiar with JLL, Cushman & Wakefield, USAA, related commercial, we help them, and we're helpful to help them in a lot of ways that other firms can. Health and medical, like hospitals and retirement communities and senior living facilities, and guys, on down the line into agricultural and everything else. We help every single vertical of client that you can possibly think of. So if you're looking at this map here, so that's a little bit more about who FIVE is. So now we really kind of get into a 4-step process, which I've done a training video for you on. It's probably going to be in your training tab there that we'll talk about in a second that explains all of this. But kind of the first step is, well, how do I identify a good potential client for Five? And what we're looking at here is a map, if you're able to see this online. There are some blue states there. Those blue states are your playground for what we're talking about here. And if you're not able to see that, it's Texas, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and all the way through the Northeast, excluding Vermont. And then there they are listed out. All we're saying there is that those are the deregulation states where we are able to help people the most. Now, that doesn't mean their headquarters has to be in one of those states. In fact, we work with a lot of people at their headquarters in Colorado, Minnesota, Wisconsin. That just means most of their locations are in those blue deregulated states. And then there's kind of a second component to it that I explained in the training video that says, you know, if they're spending less than $1,000 a month on electricity aggregate, I mean, if they got 3 locations and it's $250 per location, that would still apply. There's really not anything that we can do for them. That is a whole different level of expertise and the way that people help. Very, very transactional, and that's not us. From $1,000 to $5,000 a month in electricity spend, now we can really start to help people. And that could be, you know, cell phone repair stores are a great example. Spend about $500 a store in electricity, but they've got 10 of those. That'd be a great client for Five. 5 to 10 grand a month in electricity spend, we're really starting to get into our sweet spot. And then anything from 10 grand to $10 million a month on electricity, that's really where we excel. And you think, man, $10 million a month on electricity, that sounds like a lot. You know, in our world, that actually is not even considered a large client. You've got some really, really large clients out there that spend tens and 20s and hundreds of millions of dollars a month on electricity. You think about a mediocre-sized city, maybe of 200,000 people. They're probably spending $300 to $700 grand a month on electricity. So there's a lot of ways in there, a lot of different clients in those zones that we can really help with. Let me pause there, Vince. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Nope, you're doing good. We can move into the services too. I know you do more than just that. There's some other services you do too.
We sure do, and down through there that Vince is scrolling through, it explains a lot of what I just discussed, and when I was talking about who we are and how we help people. But this is probably the best spot to talk about how even the firm Five came into play. So coincidentally, not because of the name of Five. In fact, I'll say this. The name of our firm is just the digit 5. I explained that earlier. Our website is, energyby5.com. That's only because they won't let you have a domain name. It's just one numeric digit. So we had to come up with something, right? A lot of people will call us Energy by 5, and that's okay. The real name of our firm is just the digit 5. But also we have 5 partners. And prior to forming the entity of 5 about 7.5, 8 years ago, they were all working in some capacity in the deregulated world. Brian Hayduck, he's our CEO, and you can read all their stories on our website. But he's our CEO, and prior to 5, he was CEO of 3 different retail electric providers. And what that simply means is an electricity supplier. So if you're familiar with like TXU or Reliant or Green Mountain or Champion or Constellation or NG or MP2 or any of the Direct Energy, if you ever heard those names, he was the CEO of 3 different companies like that. So he understands, where suppliers play games, where they hide their numbers, the ins and outs of that. And that comes in very handy when we're pricing. Eric Plattis, another partner, traded on the NYMEX floor for 10 years. That's where commodities are traded there in New York. Another 7 years in the wholesale market, sit on the boards of NYMEX and COMEX, and then spent some more time in the wholesale market. He and his team analyzing, fundamental and technical trading analysis and why markets are moving. That gives us informed decisions, or helps us make informed decisions on telling a customer when to buy. So that's important. Josh Coleman, he's our engineer of the group. He handles a lot of things outside of procurement. I mean, this guy's got 35 years in electricity engineering. So the way that he helps people in unparalleled ways, you probably have heard of electricity brokers. And there are hundreds of those in our marketplace. What really differentiates us is the fact that we can help with everything else that they can't do, and then what they do, we do even better. And that's because of people like Josh Coleman, and then also the fourth partner, John Moore. John Moore's a Yale law graduate. He's built power plants all the way around the world, but he also helps our clients negotiate more favorable language. There's about 10 things in a contract that, like MAC and bandwidth and swing and payment terms and product structure, that can make a different, an impact into the electricity cost. And so he comes in very handy. And then Jeff Scheffelbein rounds out the group. He's in charge of sales and culture. And I want to explain this because I think it's very important. Five is the number 3 or 4 best workplace in Texas, top 20 in America, on the Inc. magazine, Fortune magazine, a state magazine here in Texas, and that's been done for the last 3 or 4 years in a row. We're also on the Inc. 5000's fastest growing list. We're also on the list, the Entrepreneurial 360 list for innovation, growth, and disruption, and many, many, many other accolades. And a lot of people think, hey, way to go, Five, you're a great place to work. What's that mean for me? Well, it means everything. It means everything because we can attract a very high caliber of talent to work for our firm. And through that is a direct correlation to the customer experience, the people that you might ultimately bring to the table and introduce to this program, but also to the aptitude and expertise that our customers will get. So it does make a big impact. So think about all 5 of those partners and their respective teams all sitting on the same side of the table as you, helping you make these decisions, or a client making these decisions, the best and possible, smartest decisions that they can make. That's who we are. We do that through all of these services, and we help people in ways that they didn't even know they could be helped with. In fact, you're going to hear this. If you participate in this program, you will hear one of your prospective clients say, why hasn't anyone ever told me this? No one has ever talked to me like this about energy. And you will hear that if you stay with this program long enough. Vince, you want to keep going here?
Yep, you're doing good. And
all right.
Did you want to walk through any of these down here in particular, like go through each of them?
No. I don't want to bore people with that. It's all on our website. You can see it here in your back office, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go to the About tab. I think that's an important thing to point out there. So that video right there on the About tab will explain more of who we are. This is also a shareable video. If someone's just saying, I got a bunch of questions, can you tell me more about who they are? This is a great, great video that you can send them. I want to just keep moving here, Vince. What's that next tab? Demo, FAQs. FAQs are good. You'll learn some things through reading the FAQs. I think that you definitely want to take a look at those. The Reviews tab is amazing. There's some client testimonial stories. That's been a big push for us in 2019. Is to create some brief videos here, just some, things, some great things that we've done for some clients in their words, right? I mean, we can talk all day long how great we are and all the great work we do, but when you hear it from somebody else, it just means a lot from there. Forms, is that where we have the link to the lead approval process?
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Go ahead and click on that. Vince. So if you're following along here, this will be a brief training on how this works. So, step 1 of the 4 steps is identifying the proper size and the proper location of a client to introduce to this program. And we are going to explain what all that means for you toward the end, because I know that's the part that you're most interested in. But step 2 is, before we even reach out to that prospect and make that introduction, we want to get that lead approved. And for the sole reason that we may already be in progress with that customer or that prospect, or they may already be a client of Five. And it would look rarely odd if you reached out to one of our clients and said, hey, I think you ought to talk to these guys. They're amazing. And they say, you're right, they are amazing. We're already a client of theirs. Right? It would make us look disorganized and disheveled. So, Vince, let's just go through this super fast. Let's just put in you can put in my email address there or yours. It doesn't really matter. This is where you're going to put, as an Agora rep, you've identified a client, and you're going to say, I want to reach out to XYZ manufacturer and see if I can go ahead and approach these folks. So you put in your the Agora rep email. You're going to put in your first name. You're going to put in your last name. That's fine. It doesn't even have to be spelled perfectly. Just any letters in there will work. You're going to hit next. Your Agora ID, go ahead and put that in there, and then your Agora rep phone number. That'll help us track, the progress on these and make sure that you get paid for anything that you do here. And then your phone number will help us reach out to you in the event that, we might need some additional information, et cetera, et cetera. You just hit next. And then this is going to be your referred client's information. So business name, street address, city, state, zip code, those are all required. Vince, I don't even think you have to do this part. Just scroll all the way to the bottom. You're going to put all this information in here, and then you're going to hit submit. And the next screen will say, yes, this did submit. You'll hear from us, in 48 to 72 hours, letting you know if your lead has been approved or declined. And guys, all we're doing there is just double checking that they're not already a client of Five or that we're not already working with them. You'll get an automated email from us when that is approved, saying, hey, this is approved. Let's go ahead and take the next step and get a meeting set. That would be the third step in the four-step process. Or it's declined, and it'll say declined, the fact that they're already a client of ours or they're already in progress, check back in 3 or 4 months and see if we want to do it there. And then there's a place for you to submit another response. Guys, that is super, super simple. I do go over this in one of the training videos as well, and now you'll have it here for a training also. So that's that step, pretty simple. Let's go back to the tabs, if you don't mind. Yep, so we did forms, contact information is there, training. Let's go to the training tab. So a lot of great training here. And I'm going to recommend everyone take some time to look over this training. And we're going to talk about the possibilities and the earnings potential here in just a minute. And probably if I led with that, you'd all be diving into this right now because the earnings potential is so high, but we're going to reserve that to the end. These are very, very important. I think the overview webinar is probably going to give you another sense of more of who we are, what we do, how we help people, some of the potential in this program, and then exactly what it means for you. The Getting Started webinar is really, really important for you to follow these 4 steps. It's going to explain it in its entirety, and you can watch it as many times as you want. I think once you get into the hang of things, in submitting leads and following the process and setting meetings, you'll be an expert at it. I don't think you'll have to watch it too many more times after that. There's a lot of good little golden nuggets of success tips and strategies and things like that in that video. But I highly recommend you watch that. And I highly recommend you watch that as soon as possible. And then once you've watched that, take action immediately. I talked about it in the webinar. The TRL program, and by the way, TRL stands for the referral league. That's just one of the 3 verticals of Five. If you ever hear me refer to that, it's overall kind of this program that we're talking about. The relationship that Five and Agora has is very special, and it is unique in a way. So if you ever hear me slip up and say TRL, I'm talking about the same thing. The differentiator between a referral partner who has success and one that doesn't, to me, is one that takes action right away. One that has long-term thinking, doesn't look at this like winning the lottery. You have consistency, and you manage your own expectations. I think in this program, I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but not every lead you're going to get approved and set a meeting with is going to become a customer. And I think it's fair to say, that we all understand that. But the more meetings we have, the more chances you have at getting a customer, the more chances you have at getting a customer, the more likely you are to close customers. The more likely you are to close customers, then the more money you're going to make. I think that's pretty simple. So the Getting Started webinar is going to help you with that. Setting a meeting webinar, that is the most important step. There's no money in lead approval, unfortunately. All the money, all where the rubber meets the road, where the most important step of the 4 steps is that 3rd step, and it's setting a meeting. So in that webinar, I go into great depth on what to say, when to say, how to say it, how to overcome objections, the right even tone and articulation to use in your words, how to schedule those meetings. It's all in there. And I think the more times you watch that, the more successful you'll be. But the more times you do it, I think it's going to make the biggest success, the biggest differentiator. I always tell people that before you can be great at this, you got to be good at it. And before you can be good at it, you got to be bad at it. And before you can even be bad at it, you got to start, right? And that's the key here is getting some training under your belt. Don't get analysis paralysis. Don't feel like you got to do it perfect. Be detached from the outcome. I talk about that in setting the meeting webinar. And just go after it, right? You're going to flub up a few in the very beginning. Big deal. Not a big deal at all, right? Just get in there, dive in, and then make it work. And then scroll down a little bit, Vince. I think that is right below where it says setting the meeting. Vince, are you there? It might just be that my screen is...
I just scrolled down. How far do you want me to go down?
Oh, I don't know. My screen froze. So I don't know. It's no problem.
You want to
no
get to the FAQs? Is that what you're talking about?
No, is that what's below that setting a meeting is just the FAQs?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, no problem. No, you guys can...
These are FAQs for advisors. Like what size of a client should I focus on?
Good.
Where should I focus my efforts?
Yep. Okay, great. You guys can dive into all that in your own time. So let's dive into the fun part. You know, what all this means for you. We've got a good program. Agora is a phenomenal company. Five is a phenomenal company. And what I think what we have here, guys, is a true win-win. It's a win for the client because we're able to help people. It's a win for Agora. It's a win for you, and it's a win for our firm as well. And it's rare. It's so rare that you can have a quadruple win situation. And all because you have relationships that you're either willing to bring to the table now or build over time or work through somebody else. It's important to mention that because of the model that Agora has is you may sit on this line and think, man, I don't have any relationships. I don't know any business owners or decision makers in that category. No problem. The beauty of Agora and the beauty of this program is that you can be connected to someone who has all those relationships, turn them on to Agora, then turn them on to this program, and you will win either way. And I think that is a huge, huge advantage to you that other referral partners do not have in our program. We're not a network marketing company. We're not a multi-level marketing company. And so we're not able to go out and do all that recruiting like you can. And so I think you could build a huge, huge business just around this program. People get very excited about energy. There's a lot of energy in energy, pun intended. And it's just weird. I don't know why that is. But the good news is we're not going back to candles anytime soon. So this is going to be around for a while. Electricity is imperative. I don't know if anybody's on the line in New York, but you may have heard not this previous weekend, but the one before that, there was an outage in New York City, Manhattan. 77,000 meters affected. Over 1 million people. I mean, you think about that. That's Times Square, that's 7th and Broadway, all the way down to Madison Avenue, all the way over to Central Park. I mean, you think about all of the meters and all the people that might be there on a Saturday night, and bam, the power goes out. For 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours. People think, I mean, how many millions and millions of dollars in revenue were lost because of electricity? So we have to have it. It's a part of what we're going to be doing from now on, and there's no way that we're going back to candles. So getting involved in this and referring clients to that is huge for you. This is something that's already happening. The relationships that you have are already there. The people you're going to meet are already going to come through your life. So why not do something to try to help them? We have a ton of success stories. So it's a win-win, win-win. It's very simple. I will tell you in a lot of ways that the less you know about what we do, the better off you will be and the more success you will have in this program. As soon as you start trying to answer questions, man, you're putting yourself into a corner that you cannot get out of. And I talk about that in the Setting the Meeting webinar. So it's a win-win-win-win. You have relationships already, or you can recruit people who have relationships. Very, very little effort is required on your end. Yet the earnings potential in this is massive. In the overview webinar, I give some really simple scenarios in there and some earnings potential. In that webinar, since that is public facing, I have to under-promise what those commissions look like and over-deliver. So those are very conservative examples. I have a friend. She's part of the referral program here at Five, has been for about a year or so. She went to school with a gentleman who runs a fast food chain here that's pretty prevalent in Texas, but they have locations in Illinois and Maryland and Ohio as well. And she just went to school with him. That's it. Nothing else. No professional relationships whatsoever. Just called him up and said, hey man, I think you ought to talk to these guys. They're like, yeah, we already work with somebody, we're good. She goes, no, I think you ought to talk to these guys. There's no downside. I think they might be able to help you. And the fact that you're good tells me you definitely need to talk to these guys because you should be doing great. Second opinions, we get them in medical and legal all the time. Why not get one here? And he said, you know what, you're right. What's the worst that could happen in a 15-minute phone call? We have that 15-minute phone call. They allow us to go ahead and prove our value to them. We take all of their data. We do a full suite of analysis on it. It takes us 2 or 3 weeks to do that. And we go back to them and say, well, here's what we found here. Here's what we found there. Oh, by the way, here's the markets and the futures electricity curve. Here's our bottom line recommendations. Here's what we think you should do. And they said, wow, had no idea what we were missing out on. That's what we want to do. Help us implement. Folks, that was a $108,000 commission for that referral partner who I guarantee you only spent for sure less than 2 hours, 99% sure less than 1 hour on introducing that client to them. And what she got good at was a couple of hours that led up to that. She got really good at these training videos. And she listened to every word. She watched them over and over and over and over again. Talked to another referral partner last week. And he's been a referral partner for 2 or 3 years. I forget how long. And he was in Ohio, and very early on had some pretty good success. And one of the really cool parts about our program is you're going to get paid in 3 different ways. For any new business that you do, there's more than likely going to be a portion of that that's going to be up front. There's another portion of it that's going to be paid residually over the contract term. And some of that changes, vary by geography, by location, how far out into the market we're going. Sometimes it's all residual. Sometimes you get a big portion up front. There's just a lot of variables. But the third way you get paid is on renewals. And we have a very high retention rate, meaning that a lot of the clients that we close are going to stay with us. In fact, the majority of the time they're going to stay with us. A big majority of the time they're going to stay with us. And as that happens, every time we renew, you get paid again and again and again and again. I have clients of mine personally that I introduced early on that we've had 4 or 5 renewals with in the last 7 years. Well, this referral partner started 2, 3 years ago, whatever it was. Just last week we were talking, and I said, man, I think we're working on about 10 or 12 accounts for you right now that are in renewal phase. He goes, wow, that's huge. Could I get a brief synopsis on that? I said, yeah, I'll put some brief together for you. It really was 18 accounts that we are working on renewals for. And again, a big majority of those renew with us every time. And he's like, man, I didn't know that. He said, I've just been head down, just working. Honestly, I didn't even realize I'd been a part of the program for that long. But he said, this is the gravy. He said, why don't more people do this? I said, well, they don't have long-term thinking. And they may introduce some clients early on, and for some reason it doesn't work out. We can't overcome, a relative that's doing this for them, or a person retires, and then we start with someone new, and they have their own relationships, whatever. There's some things we can't overcome. But for people that have the proper managed expectations in longevity, man, it could be huge. A personal, and I look at myself as a referral partner as well, although I have a lot of knowledge and I do a lot of the consulting side as well. But I went to school with a fraternity brother 20-something years ago, and he moved over to a firm, a commercial real estate firm that manages about $27 billion in assets. And we worked with their old firm, and we worked with the new firm. He made the recommendation, and now we work with them as well. There's a city up in East Ohio that's a client of ours. In fact, we probably manage 200 cities across the U.S., probably 150 school districts across the U.S. And they were introduced to us very early on in the program. And it took us 19 months for them to become a client. And it took us 19 months because of all the bureaucracy and people changing jobs, and then things happen in the market and change the opportunity that's available to them. I tell you that story because we stick with it until it's done. You may have something become a client in 4 weeks, and you may have hopefully not a 19-month story, but actually I kind of hope that you do. It helps you realize that, it's going to happen regardless. You making the introduction should happen anyway. And as time goes by, it's going to go by anyway. You might as well make money on that deal. Vince, can you think of anything else that we should be talking about right now?
No, you did a very good job, and someone did ask us where this can be found in the marketplace. If you look, when you go in the marketplace, we have it right here on the third row, Energy Procurement and Risk Management. We also have an advertising banner up here for it. You can see it right there. No, very exciting. We really appreciate you being on the call today. And, we already have people submitting deals. And submitting. I've already have people that are working with Ben, and this is in a pre-launch. We have one gal that put in, I think, 4 or 5. And then we got another guy. We got a couple people out in New York. We have one guy working with a hamburger, like 30 different locations, and then also a couple of Hiltons. So, and I think the Hilton, what I heard back, they're excited to hear what 5 has to say. So this one has the potential to be a very huge moneymaker. And if you don't live in the state where that it's being offered, you can also recruit out there because, this could be very great as far as building a team. So although you can't work it, or if you have leads out there, or people out there, you can still submit the deal. So very exciting. We appreciate you, Ben, being on the call. Hopefully this answered everyone's question. This training will be in the back office under the tab back here. But I highly recommend you go through this right here, these videos. You just click on them, you type in these passwords, and it'll walk you right through it. We've done a very good job putting everything you need to know back here and made it pretty complete.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to add one note here too, Vince, what you said. The biggest, when I was doing network marketing, the best question I ever asked was, who do you know? And I would utilize that nonstop. If I want to find, some folks in Texas that have influence in big networks, I would talk to people that and say, well, who do you know in Texas who is influential, who has networks, or is a business owner, or et cetera, et cetera? Who do you know is a very, very powerful question. And the other thing I wanted to say is, too, is if any of you are near the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'd love to meet you up at the 5 headquarters one day, show you around, introduce you to some of the partners, and show you what we're capable of doing. I know that I'm already doing that tomorrow with someone from Agora, so I'm happy to do that. Reach out to me. I'd love to meet you guys anytime. If you just want to talk more about the program, shoot me an email, give me a phone call, shoot me a text. Happy to help you guys, and I really appreciate it, Vince. I think we put a ton of hard work into this, and I think this is going to be a huge, huge win for everyone that chooses to participate. Thank you again.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone being on the call, and everyone have a good day.